guy we want to watch is in that orange car behind Greg Biffle in that 47, Marcus Ambrose. He and Kevin Harvick definitely have the two fastest cars on the racetrack.
On board with Marcus.
See Greg Biffle giving Robbie Gordon a little break right there to be able to get back in line.
Up through the S's, two abreast. It's a little dicey sometimes.
Yeah, let's see if 47, if he can get close enough to outbreak Greg Biffle getting in. Greg's trying to protect that inside line already.
And there is Harvick trying to get around the 18 of Kyle Busch. Biffle holds off the 47. Everybody making it through okay so far.
This is a huge break for Kyle Busch, too. He was even further behind than what Ambrose and Kevin Harvick were, so this allowed him to catch up. He has a fast car.
Kyle's pit strategy, his last pit stop was on lap 15.
You see that 55 car hood flapping in the breeze. They may have to address that on his pit stop.
So Ambrose taking a look. Sometimes you try to get yourself just outside the other guy's mirror. Here he comes in turn 11.
He's got it.
Yeah, really made a nice move. But Biffle's going to try to come back to the inside. But I think he pretty much knows that Ambrose is faster. He's just going to try to not let anybody else get by him.
Well, we've seen several guys try to make that pass in 11. Marcus was the first one to pull it off. Down into 1. And he's pulling away from the 16.
You can see in that shot just how much he drove his car down in the corner and got on the brakes later than Greg Biffle.
Right now it's Edwards, Menard, Keselowski, Robbie Gordon in 4th, Ambrose in 5th, and you're right, that hood is starting to flap more and more. Look at it going down the backstretch.
They're going to have to address that before the end of the race. Probably the next pit stop, they're going to have to get a pin or get some tape, something on there, because it's going to get worse and worse as they go.
See, Ambrose is already to the back bumper of Robbie Gordon. Here they come.
All right, here they come. Carl Edwards, your race leader. Robbie Gordon right behind him. Brad Keselowski. Oh, it's just everybody. Jamie, I'm sending them your way.
And Marcos Ambrose in the 47 actually thinks they're going to be about 3 or 4 laps short, but they had to come. They're going to pull the fenders out, pull the tape off that nose because his car was getting hot, and 4 tires. Vince?
We're getting ready to go back to green flag racing as fellows will make the turn, and it'll be Stephen Wallace, who last pitted on lap 18. No way he can go. And Brendan Gaughan, who last pitted on 39. We're back to green flag racing. Reagan taking a look, and he's going to take over.
Trouble there. Marcus Ambrose got into Carl Edwards.
Yep. And look at how guys behind. That's Robbie Gordon out there as well, trying to get back into line. They both lose a couple of spots.
Ambrose tried to squeeze in between Joe Nemechek and Carl Edwards and actually clipped Carl Edwards, and that got him out of shape.
Well, that's the bad news. The good news for Marcus, he gained 2 spots. He's still on the move now, looking at Brendan Gaughan.
He's going to tuck underneath.
Gaughan gives him some room. He's able to make that pass up to 4th.
Next in front of him is Kyle Busch in the 18. Look at the rest of the traffic coming through. Oh, too wide. That's not going to work. Somehow they squeezed it on through. Morgan Shepherd did a good job there, keeping all 4 wheels on. Here comes Kyle Busch. There he is on the 18. Looking to get under Stephen Wallace. Does. Here comes Ambrose on the other side. So Stephen going backwards pretty quickly here on the restart. So the top 3 are David Reagan, Kyle Busch, Marcus Ambrose.
Those guys have fast cars and they have fresh tires, so that made that work pretty easy for them to get up there. See, Kyle Busch is going to go try to get to the lead right now.
Taking it deep, and he's got it, so we have another leader. So Kyle Busch has now led another race. We've had 6 lead changes. The record there is 14. And here comes Ambrose again. And these two are going to try and maybe make this their own little playground for a few laps.
Yeah, it's going to be a 2-car race for a while. Both of these cars are real fast, and Ambrose is going to put a lot of pressure, as much pressure as he can, on Kyle Busch.
And we'll see as this winds down how key that was that Kyle Busch's pit crew did a fantastic job of getting him out in front of these guys. So, you know, week in and week out, Kyle Busch does a great job on the racetrack, but that pit crew does a fantastic job too.
Both of these cars have fender damage. You see just a little bit of damage on the 18 car on the right front fender, but the left front fender on Marcus Ambrose, you can see how it's kind of down on the tire. Doesn't look like it's rubbing, but that's part of that contact with Carl Edwards.
Coming down the front stretch. Does Ambrose have anything going into turn number 1? Not this lap. But boy, he is right there. If Kyle makes a slip, it's going to slide underneath him.
Well, this is where Marcus Ambrose will be sizing up Kyle Busch, see where he's a little bit quicker than he is. Is it just in spots? You know, sometimes you can be faster than a car, but you're faster there in areas that you can't make a pass. So it makes it very difficult when you get to those passing places, those opportunities. And if that guy's just as good right there, it takes you a long time to make that pass.
Busch in the 18, the blue and orange car, and then Ambrose in the STP logoed machine, first and second for the restart. Now remember, last restart, Carl Edwards was up there amongst them. He's a little bit farther back after that last shootout style double file restart going down into turn 1. Carl Edwards, you see him in the white car on the outside, screen right, and here comes Ambrose looking for some room.
And he turns into a pinball at that point, Brad.
Well, it's just, you know, it's so congested down there, and like Rusty talked about earlier, it's so difficult getting through that corner. Ambrose tries to stick his nose in there, and there's just nowhere to go. Gets into the rear end of Carl, and Carl can't hang on to it. And boy, I tell you, Ambrose picked up some spots.
Still out there.
Kicked Carl back to 8th spot, and so now the crew chief's just counting caution laps at this point, right, Jamie?
That's right, Frank Kerr, crew chief for Marcos Ambrose. You got a big smile on your face when the caution came out. How much is this going to help you?
Well, we needed about a lap and a half of fuel, so caution came out. We're in good shape now, and Mark's doing a great job. You know, we put this thing together kind of last minute, and we weren't very good when we unloaded, but we got a good race car now.
You know what kind of race car driver Kyle Busch is. What are we going to see on this restart?
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. We need to get him on the restart and get out front and just cruise.
Marcos Ambrose is here for one reason, Alan, and one reason alone, and that's to win this race.
A little on-track conversation between Carl Edwards and Ambrose there under the caution about that last restart.
Be wide open. If your car's working real good, you can stay wide open and then make some time up there. Marcus Ambrose really trying to put some pressure on Kyle Busch right now. It's going to be interesting to see as we go through this how much Kyle Busch is willing to risk trying to hold Marcus Ambrose back there. You know, if something should happen there, a little contact, this many cars on the lead lap, Kyle Busch could end up with a bad points day.
He's got a big point lead. He can afford to, you know, gamble a little bit, and we know how he feels about winning and losing.
And the guy in second place, though, has nothing to lose except trying to win this race. So
I'll tell you, Denny Hamlin has now emerged as a contender in this race. He is all over a 47 of Ambrose.
And remember, Hamlin came on board this week after Scott Lagasse was taken out of this ride. And there'll be a couple of other drivers seeing this 11 car over the next few races. We have a total of 31 cars on the lead lap still, and we're down to 19 laps to go. But this is getting really fun to watch between these two.
Nobody's flinched yet, have they?
No, they really haven't. Just superior driving by both of these guys right now. Ambrose trying to make this pass.
Oh, he's going the short route.
Oh, he put Kyle Busch in a position where he has to stop there.
Listen to the crowd.
Oh, my goodness.
The crowd's
That was a bold move right there.
Man.
Oh, Kyle is not going to be happy. You can be guaranteed of that.
Yeah, to say the least. Wow. Kyle
He's
still
gets
back
going.
in third.
Yeah, he had to stay legal and not go through that portion of the track. He has to come to a complete stop and not gain any positions. Which he was the leader when that happened.
He's now 3.4 seconds behind, and you realize he's been passed for the win 8 times in 2009, and it was the last lead change of the race. This could be the same situation here. Take another look at it from outside.
And Ambrose gets a big run up the backstretch. And
Kyle he was going to try to block him, and it really wasn't that he didn't have room. He just got in there too hard, and his car wiggled, and if he tried to turn, then he was going to spin. So Kyle Busch did a really good job.
I tell you, and you got to give him credit. He did a good job not wrecking both cars, because he could have, to try to save the car and go through that section, he would have had to wreck Marcus Ambrose.
That's right. And he does what he has to do. He stops, and there he is in third, and he's actually catching Denny Hamlin for second.
Was he thinking points there, or is it just knee-jerk reaction?
No, I think he's just instinctively doing what he has to do right there to save his race car.